You are watching Chatterbox Bengals, and I am your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down a long list of Cincinnati Bengals injury updates from Zac Taylor. He recently addressed the media at his Wednesday press conference. There is a particular Cincinnati Bengal that is going to be out for the entirety of the 2025 season. Going to be breaking that down on today's show. Also, got to talk a little bit about Trey Hendrickson. There was a article out on Sports Illustrated. A particular team believes that they are the quote-unquote front runner for Trey Hendrickson should a trade transpire. Going to be breaking that down as well. Also, a notable New England Patriot has been put on the trade block. Could be a potential trade target for Cincinnati or a free agent target should he be released. And also, Dalton Risner visited and worked out with Cincinnati yesterday. He is not currently a Cincinnati Bengal yet. He will take some other visits. Going to be breaking that down on today's show as well. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, that's youtube.com/chatterboxsports, your one-stop shop for the best Cincinnati sports coverage right here at the channel. Reds did a nice job taking the series last night in Anaheim. They look for the sweep tonight. And I believe Nick Martinez is on the mound. One game back at the final NL wildcard spot. Next couple of weeks should be pretty exciting for Cincinnati Reds fans. Trace Fowler, Nick Kirby, they've got you covered in the ninth inning and after the ball game tonight. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button for me right now, youtube.com/chatterboxsports. Okay, let's start with this long list of injury updates. I'm sure you've probably heard by now the player I was referring to off the top. His name is Cordell Volson. He got hurt at practice. It is a shoulder injury, and he is expected to miss the entirety of the 2025 season. Now, Zac Taylor said specifically that it doesn't, it's not a for sure thing that he's going to be out for the season, but it's trending in that direction. Anytime a coach goes up there at a press conference and says it's trending in that type of direction, I think we all can expect Cordell Volson to be out for the entirety of the season. And that really is a tough blow for Cincinnati. Clearly, the Bengals had no plans in terms of him being the starter this year in 2025, but he was a backup player, and as far as backups go, really good backup for Cincinnati. Why? Because he has played so much as a starter for this football team. And Taylor talked about always came to work with the right mindset, the right attitude, the right work ethic, and despite him disagreeing with Cincinnati, obviously he thought he should have been a starter, did a nice job of taking the bull by the horns, understanding his role, and still showed up to work every single day. The interior offensive line, it already was thin, and it just got a lot thinner. Again, this happened during practice. Tough news for Cordell Volson. Certainly wishing him nothing but the best, and hopefully he can get the surgery, rebound, and be ready to go in 2026. Also, Lucas Patrick. We kind of had speculated that he got benched for Jalen Rivers in the preseason game on Monday night. It did, in fact, end up being an injury, and Zac Taylor actually said it was a lot better than that was expected for the injury for Lucas Patrick. They thought it was going to be a lot worse. He is considered day-to-day at this point. Gesicki, of course, still day-to-day. He pulled his hamstring when the Bengals had their back together again in practice at Paycor Stadium. Haven't seen much of him since that. They are taking it slow with him. And Taylor, for these three guys, Gesicki, Drew Sample, and Myles Murphy, pointed out that should there be a real Week 1 game, in other words, if the Bengals are playing Cleveland this weekend, all three guys would be available, but they're taking it slow with them. But Drew Sample is another new guy to be added to this list. I would assume that transpired in the Monday night game. Taylor did not exactly expand on that, whether that was a practice injury situation or the game on Monday night, but your two best tight ends there, Gesicki and Sample, a little bit beat up. Myles Murphy as well. You just hope he's ready to go for Week 1. He missed the first 4 weeks last year to start the season, obviously with a knee injury, and then didn't really do much when he came back. But he's another guy to keep an eye on. Cody Ford still day-to-day. He's going to be involved in playing guard and tackle as they look to continue to try to figure out what to do on the offensive line. B.J. Hill. Zac Taylor was expecting today's practice to be a little bit more ramped up, but just kind of after evaluating the team, the state of where everybody was at coming on the heels of Monday night's game, they kind of dialed back a little bit on that, but he was going to get team reps today should they be doing 11-on-11 stuff, but they're not doing 11-on-11 stuff today. But B.J. Hill appears to be trending in the right direction. Geno Stone and Jermaine Burton are also making good progress. They are listed as day-to-day, and Zac Taylor said basically we will see where they are at today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week. Bengals thin at that safety spot as well, right? Don't have a ton of guys there. Jordan Battle certainly has struggled in the preseason, so certainly would like to get Geno Stone back. Positive update, Dax Hill. It was good to see him out there on Monday night. Thought he was moving around really nicely. Zac Taylor was really fired up about where Dax Hill is at, and he's going to be ready to go for Week 1 unless something between now and Week 1 happens that sets him back, but he is in a good spot right now. That is a positive sign for Cincinnati because with no Trey Hendrickson right now, I mean, is Dax Hill your best player on defense? Part of me kind of thinks so with no Trey Hendrickson at this point. But long list of injury updates for Cincinnati. And it's not, Cincinnati's not an outlier here, right? This is happening throughout all the teams across the NFL. That's just the way it goes. It's a physical, violent game. And, fortunately for Cincinnati, the big three are doing all right. Higgins was, they took things a little bit slow with him at one point, but obviously he played the drive on Monday night. But Burrow, Higgins, and Chase all healthy at this point. That is positive, but Cordell Volson out for the season. That certainly is not a good sign for Cincinnati. Let's kind of transition now our conversation into Dalton Risner. We talked about him and how he was visiting with the Cincinnati Bengals. He did work out with the team yesterday, and he leaves Cincinnati without a contract. Bit of a head scratcher for me. Unless if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you didn't, love what you saw from him and then didn't want to, offer him a lot of money, or maybe you did make an offer and he just wanted to continue to explore, visiting with Seattle, also plans to visit Pittsburgh as well. Veteran guy, I believe he's like 30 years of age. He wants to make sure, he's picking the right team for him and his future. But, I was really hoping Cincinnati was able to get something done with Risner. And, they weren't able to do that yesterday, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't ultimately get something done with him. If I'm him, granted I'm biased, but I would want to come play for Joe Burrow, especially considering how talented this football team is, and you've got some weaknesses there along the offensive line, and you really could do good things coming here to Cincinnati. But Risner going to continue to visit with some other teams, and we will see if ultimately he ends up signing with Cincinnati. But you need to sign somebody at that guard spot. Don't really have any other names in mind here at this point. Brandon Scherf was a guy I've been talking about all offseason long. He retired a couple of weeks ago, so can't land him. And at this point, it feels like Risner's at the top of your list. But he is going to continue to visit with other teams. We certainly will have that situation closely monitored. And if the Bengals do make a signing, we will have some content for you guys on that front. All right, let's talk Kyle Dugger. Kyle Dugger is a safety for the New England Patriots. I've always thought he's a really good player. Was drafted in the second round in 2020. I think he did. Has done some good things throughout his career. He certainly played well in Week 1 last year against the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium. But he signed a 4-year, $58 million deal last April, but he's kind of getting phased out of what New England is doing. He's been put on the trade block. New England, of course, totally new regime there. Mike Vrabel coming in, and Gerard Mayo going out, and lots of turnover on that staff. And, they view Dugger a little bit more differently than what the previous regime did. He's on the trade block. Will they be able to find a trade partner? That, all depends on, there's funny contract stuff, right? Like how much of the money would New England be responsible for? Again, just signed a 4-year, $54 million deal last April, so that's a lot of money on the table, but it kind of feels like he is trending in the direction of being released. And I think if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you definitely should be interested in signing a guy like Kyle Dugger. You have issues at safety. Even if Geno Stone can come back and be healthy, are you sure that's your best option, right? Geno Stone certainly struggled last year in 2024. Jordan Battle is expected to take a big leap from year 2 going into year 3. Here for Cincinnati, preseason has been shaky with him. Beyond him, you have some question marks. Is Jalen Key going to make the roster? Probably not. Dejon Anthony, how you feel about him? I don't know. Tyson Anderson, the guy we all love, that's definitely going to make the roster and flash in some good ways on Monday night at that safety spot. Of course, had the interception there as well, but you could use another safety. Justin Simmons, by the way, is still on the open market as of filming this video as well, but Dugger is a guy that Cincinnati should be at least calling about, see if there is a trade situation they could work out, and should he be released, they should be aggressively pursuing him as well. So Kyle Dugger on the trade block right now, and I think Cincinnati should be very interested in him. And for what it's worth, Cincinnati has been, known to be a little bit more passive in recent years, and really ever since I've been following the team since I was a little kid. But you're seeing some aggression here with Dalton Risner, right? You're bringing him in, trying to get him signed. weren't able to get it done. But Noah Fant as well. That's a big signing, right? It's a big-name guy that's had success in this league, and you picked him up a couple of weeks ago as well. So this Bengals front office, they don't always have, the most clear-cut way of showing it, but they are trying to win here, and they are trying to be aggressive. So if Duggar does become available, I think in some ways they will pursue him. All right, let's finish out today's show with a little Trey Hendrickson conversation. Now, I've made this very clear here, but I do want to reiterate, I don't believe Cincinnati is going to be trading Trey Hendrickson here at this point, right? Trading him for a pick, what does that do for you? You're trying to win here in 2025. You got Burrow, Chase, Higgins all in their prime. You've got a couple of years here where you got to make something happen. Trading him for a future pick doesn't do anything for me. That's something that needed to have been done prior to the NFL draft that took place a couple of months ago. But the Bengals, of course, it's been reported that they want a starter along with the pick, right? So a young defensive starter, doesn't have to be a pass rusher, that could come in, also a first-round pick. And, by the way, the team that would acquire him would have to pay him the money that he is looking for. So I think it's a long shot that a trade gets done, and I don't think it's in the best interest of Cincinnati to get this trade done, even if you get a first-round pick, right? I think Trey Hendrickson, what he can give you on the football field is more valuable than getting a first-round pick for the future, because this year right now, you've got to be competitive, and you have to put yourself in a situation where you can win a Super Bowl. I believe that you're always going to have an opportunity to do that as long as Joe Burrow is the quarterback. But here with Higgins and Chase, I mean, they're in their prime now. You only had the receivers, right? They're going to age quickly. They're not going to be this good for a super long period of time. So you've got a couple of years here. We've got to make the most of it. And I think Hendrickson puts you in a situation with him on the football field where you are better off than bringing in a young guy and a pick to be used down the line as well. But the report on Sports Illustrated is that Las Vegas is the front runner should a trade happen between Cincinnati and another franchise. Of course, Tom Brady is in the building for Las Vegas. He is trying to completely turn around that organization. Most of my life, they have stunk. Of course, they made the playoffs the one year where Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl and nearly beat the Bengals, but the Bengals took care of business at home, broke the streak. It was awesome, right? We all remember that. But, they've got holes all over their roster, right? Geno Smith has been brought in to play quarterback. They've got weaknesses as far as a weaponry standpoint, right? Brock Bowers is their guy, and then, Jacoby Myers is your one, and Trey Tucker's your two. I mean, go Cats, of course, but, come on. Trey Tucker's your two. That's probably not a good situation to be in. So Vegas, in my opinion, is way far away from even competing for a playoff spot, and I love Pete Carroll too. But, Carroll wants to be aggressive. Brady, of course, wants to be aggressive. John Spytek, their GM, wants to be aggressive. And apparently the thought of combining Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson is something that they are very interested in, and they're willing to make a splash. So if there is a team that could be trading an early pick, first-round pick, and a player, there isn't a player that pops into my mind on Vegas's defense that Cincinnati would, think about perhaps fitting that young player in mind that they were talking about in Rossini's report. But apparently they're at the top of the list as a front runner. One of their beat writers reported that for Sports Illustrated. I'm not reading too much into that here at this point, right? I've said it. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is going to be traded. I think something will get done. It probably will come down to the buzzer, as Joe Burrow alluded to, essentially. Remember Burrow's deal? That was the Thursday before the first football game when that finally got sorted out. And also something I do want to point out is every time on Monday night in the second half that the camera cut to Burrow, he seemingly was standing next to Trey Hendrickson. Is that a coincidence, or are they really that good of friends? Something tells me that Joe Burrow was trying to send a bit of a message to the Bengals front office because he understands how important Hendrickson is. But, again, I would be shocked if they ultimately moved Hendrickson, especially this late in the ballgame as we currently sit here on August 20th. So that'll do it for today's show. Big news of the day, Cordell Volson expected to miss the entirety of the 2025 season with that shoulder injury. Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter. Most of our videos will be up on my Twitter page. We also have some more exciting things here at Chatterbox around the corner. Can't exactly go into the details yet here at this point, but stay on the lookout. Plenty of good content coming your guys' way. So hit the subscribe button and also give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_.